Kiana, you're muted.
Well, that makes a whole lot of sense for me to be muted. I'd have muted everybody else. I'm gonna start over. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here today. I was just saying thank you for the new members that started on October 24th. We really appreciate you taking this service year with us. And we're really looking forward to see the things that you do with your service year with our program at your various sites. So thank you so much for choosing us. As always, if you have questions, please do not hesitate to contact us, our VISTA leader, or one of the VISTA program staff within our office. As a reminder, since some of you are newer, the breakdown is if you are serving in the rural community or in the Black Belt, the program staff member that you will reach out to is Kiera Jackson. If you are working on a food security project, so if you're working at a pantry, a distribution site, anything like that related to food security, your person of contact as far as staff member would be Georgia Ellard. And if you do not meet or fall into either of those categories, I would be the contact person after the VISTA leader. So if you're working in education, sustainability, things of that nature, I would be the point of contact after reaching out to our VISTA leader, Mike. As far as other highlights for today, we will be having an end of year celebration next month. So next month, we will not be having a statewide meeting. Instead, we'll be asking you all to come out to Birmingham on December 16th to celebrate our year of service together and talk about all the things that you have been doing, get a chance to connect with each other and our supervisors. Just really an opportunity to celebrate you all and thank you guys for the year that we've had together. And, get a little grub because, we like to feed you guys as well. But that is all the major updates I have right now. I know that I want to give it to Kiera. I'm not sure if she had jumped off. I know she was having some connectivity issues. Kiera, are you still there? Oh, no. Okay. Well, there is a birthday today. And I want to say happy birthday to Miss P. We appreciate you and hope you have the best day ever. And we are looking forward to you continue to serve with our program. And we hope that you have the best day ever and that your site is really good to you today. Moving right along. Oh, Kiera, there you are. Did you have any additional updates, Kiera?
No additional updates, but I do want to send a warm welcome to our new visitors and also send a birthday shout to our very own Miss George.
Again, happy birthday, Miss Patricia. We hope you have the best day ever. But without further ado, we will get right into our guest speaker to make the most of this time for you guys. So today we have Ms. Kenyatta Spiller, a senior Peace Corps recruiter, to talk to us about the Peace Corps program and the opportunities that are within the Peace Corps program after you finish your VISTA year, of course. So if you have questions for her, this is a great opportunity to continue your service year, to continue your service to the communities in need after this year. So without further ado, Kenyatta, please feel free to share your screen and introduce yourself even more thoroughly.
Thank you so much again, Kiana, and for the opportunity. I hope you all can hear me. If you could just give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen, because it's been a little crazy today. All right, thank you so much. You will see a QR code here. I hope nothing is obstructing your view, but you will see a QR code here. If you choose to get connected with me and learn more about Peace Corps after today's presentation, you can feel free to scan the QR code. It'll be the same QR code, so you don't have to worry if you don't catch this when it's on a couple other slides, but it's the same form. It'll just ask for your name and your email, and we'll get connected that way. It'll actually send your information directly to my email. So without further ado, we're just gonna move on forward. I'm Kenyatta Spiller. I am the Peace Corps recruiter for the beautiful state of Alabama. I served in Botswana and Zambia, Africa from 2015 to 2018. And I'm also a two-time AmeriCorps alum. I served both of my AmeriCorps terms within the state of Alabama. The first was with the Alabama Department of Senior Services, and the second was with Rebuilding Together Central Alabama. So I'm a proud AmeriCorps alum. I'm so happy and so honored and so blessed to be able to connect with other AmeriCorps members here in Alabama. I actually joined the Peace Corps after completing my second term with AmeriCorps. And that's when I went to Botswana and did my 27 months in the Peace Corps. I'm a proud graduate of two historically Black colleges, the Alabama State University and Savannah State University. And I'll get more into that as we move through the presentation. Let's see, I see something in the chat here. Oh, thank you so much, Kiana. And before I get into my story, I just wanted to share with you all who we are and what we do as an agency. Peace Corps is a federal agency, and we afford US citizens the opportunity to go abroad, where you get to live and work and serve in a host community in a developing country. This is a 27-month commitment. And again, we'd love for AmeriCorps members to join us after they've completed their commitments with AmeriCorps domestically. Our volunteers focus on 3 goals throughout their entire service. And the first is that you work in collaboration with local influencers and stakeholders, fairly similar to what you all are doing here in AmeriCorps. You will do it internationally, working with local stakeholders to train individuals with technical skills in one of our 6 sectors. And I'll show you the 6 sectors in just a moment. The second goal is all about cultural exchange and immersion. You share your unique experience as an American with your host country and community. And I chose to bring my favorite movies and music and artwork and family photos and family recipes to share with my host families in Botswana and in Zambia. And in return, my host country and host families gave me so much. I learned so much about the culture and the history of Botswana and Zambia, and I still carry some of the traditions on with me to this day. And the final goal, and you will do this for the rest of your life as a returned Peace Corps volunteer, is you share your story with other Americans with the hopes of inspiring them to become volunteers. So the saga continues. I am so honored and so blessed to actually get to recruit in my home state, in that I come from Montgomery, Alabama, and I get to meet so many amazing people throughout the state who are interested in becoming volunteers and joining the Peace Corps. This is a map of our Peace Corps countries and communities. March of 2020, we actually recalled over 7,000 volunteers from the countries that you see on your screen due to COVID. And we are actively working with Congress to get approval to start returning back to our host countries and communities. We were in 140 before COVID, and as of today, we are in 41, if my memory serves me correctly. But we are working actively to get back to all of our Peace Corps countries and communities, and adding additional countries that you do not see here on this map. But I want you all to know that we are active in Central and Latin America and South America. We're active in Eastern Europe and in Asia, in the Pacific Islands, and on the continent of Africa. And in each one of these countries that you see on your screen, we have been welcomed and invited in by the host country national government to work on a project in one of the 6 sectors. So we have agriculture and environment, youth development, community and economic development, health and education. And as a volunteer, you have a primary role in one of these 6 sectors. If you're in agriculture and environment, you're going to be working in the earth. You're going to be working with local farmers. You're going to be doing water sanitation projects, educating people about soil diversity and nutrition. The Peace Corps recently added a global warming component to our environment sector. So you'll be empowering your host community about global warming and what it is and how we can reduce our footprint when it comes to contributing to global warming. With youth development, you're going to be working with children. You're going to be doing extracurricular activities to build leadership in the youth within your community. With education, 10 times out of 10, you will be in a classroom, and you will serve as a liaison between the classroom and students and teachers, and between teachers and parents. So you'll be doing everything from teaching classes to assisting with extracurricular activities. It really just depends. It really just depends on what your school needs and the different curriculums that you're trained in within your specific country of service. With community and economic development, you're working to build the organizational capacity of both nonprofit organizations and government organizations. With health, specifically from Botswana and Zambia, the project focused on specifically HIV/AIDS awareness and prevention and removing stigma from those who were living with the virus. What's great about the Peace Corps is that you will have your primary role in the 6 sectors, but you also have an opportunity to bring your passions and your talents and your gifts with you into Peace Corps service, to build a bridge between, yourself and your community. For me, I served as a community and economic development volunteer in Botswana. So I was partnered with an NGO and a government office. Both organizations worked with people and their families who were living with HIV and AIDS. So I did everything from going out into the community and helping gather data to see who was being targeted with what messaging, all the way to helping creating spaces in the community that were both culturally sensitive and respectful, but also created spaces where we can talk about the drivers of HIV within the community. So everything from gender-based violence to alcohol and substance abuse, correcting consistent condom use, multiple concurrent partnerships, and even safe male circumcision, and having conversations around how those things contribute to the virus in the community. In terms of my second project, I am so passionate about women's empowerment and girls' empowerment, and the Peace Corps in Botswana actually offered training in GLOW, which stands for Girls Leading Our World. So in essence, it's a youth and development empowerment program for adolescent girls and young women. In both of my communities, in both Botswana and in Zambia, adolescent girls and young women were almost 10 times more likely to contract the virus than their male counterparts. And so again, working with my local school board and local NGO affiliates, we organized GLOW camps where young women could come from middle schools, elementary schools, and high schools within the community. And we would host sessions about, self-esteem, goal setting, what it means to be a leader in your community. For the young women who were already positive, we held sessions called Positive Living, where we reinforced concepts about, the importance of adhering to your ARVs, and the fact that you have the virus and the virus doesn't have you. You can live a long and very healthy and very productive life. And so of all the work that I did in the Peace Corps during my 3 years, it's a 27-month commitment, but I did 3 years. I hold my GLOW work the closest to my heart. I met some very amazing young women in my community I'm still in contact with today, and they are still doing amazing things. And what's really great about Peace Corps is it lays a foundation for you to just become a better and better and better volunteer throughout your time in service. My time in Botswana laid a foundation for me to go to Zambia and train teachers on how to talk about sex and sexuality as it pertains to HIV and AIDS and reproductive health in the classroom. And so it was a fairly new concept in Zambia. It was very challenging work just because culturally you do not openly talk about sex, not even using the English words. But again, the young women that I worked with every day were at a significantly high risk of contracting the virus. So it was about partnering, developing partnerships in the community where we could talk about HIV and AIDS in a culturally appropriate way. Before I get into all the benefits of Peace Corps service, I just really want to emphasize how AmeriCorps really helped me to be able to do this. I did my first AmeriCorps term right out of undergrad, where I worked with the Alabama Department of Senior Services. It was kind of like my first adult job because I was like working in this office for the state and, helping AmeriCorps members throughout the state set up trainings where they could empower those who had opted in for Medicare benefits, what's the best way to leverage their benefits and to empower them to make the best decisions for their health as well. And AmeriCorps really, really helped me when it came to like professional development. It really helped me in terms of getting prepared for graduate school. One of my mentors, who was my AmeriCorps supervisor, actually helped me get my package and my application together to actually apply to Peace Corps and to get, not the Peace Corps, to apply to graduate school and to get an assistantship. So I'm so grateful for, my time in AmeriCorps. After graduate school, I actually joined a program that focused on neighborhood revitalization, which kind of directly aligned with my master's, which was in urban studies and planning. So I actually got to get more practical hands-on skills in the workforce through AmeriCorps. The education award never hurts either, because of course I had a lot of debt after graduate school, but AmeriCorps, I feel like if it hadn't been for AmeriCorps, I'm not sure I would have even found out about the Peace Corps. I literally, I started thinking about it during undergrad, but I got accepted into graduate school. And once I finished graduate school and started my second term, the service member who I was replacing had just left for Peace Corps Mali. And so it kind of restarted me thinking about the Peace Corps and becoming a volunteer abroad. And so I'm sure you all know about the amazing benefits of AmeriCorps. I try to tell anybody who will listen, if you're not ready for the Peace Corps, give AmeriCorps a shot. It's domestic. It gives you an opportunity for professional development in addition to service and serving your community. But I just really wanted to just stop and take a moment and really reflect on that, because AmeriCorps it opens so many doors for me. And while I am here to promote Peace Corps, I just want to recognize you all as service members, and just reflecting back on that time and missing it so much. I'm still in contact with a lot of AmeriCorps members I used to serve with, but I'm so honored to be here today. But I'm going to move forward before I start to ramble. There are a lot of benefits to being a Peace Corps volunteer during and after service. You do earn a living stipend. My living stipend during my 3 years was about an equivalent of about 4,000 USD, 400 USD, excuse me. But you are paid in local currency. So when it converts, it's almost 500 in your country of service, depending on the exchange rate. The Peace Corps covers your housing, your health insurance. If you have student loans right now, we'll definitely give you something to cover that while you're in service. You also earn 50 vacation days. I come from a military family, so I was used to being away from my family for an extended amount of time. So for my first 2 years, I did not come home. I tried to travel as much as I possibly could in sub-Saharan Africa. But you can leverage your travel days however you like. If you want to come back to the US, that is something that you can choose to do. Or if you want to travel in your region of service, you have that opportunity as well. After service, you do earn something called a readjustment allowance. It's almost $10,000 before taxes, and that money is given directly to you. I had volunteer friends who decided to continue to live and work and serve on the continent of Africa. And they use their readjustment allowance to do that. My mother would have dragged me out of Zambia if I would have stayed for one more year. So I actually took my readjustment allowance and moved here to Birmingham and started recruitment work. I would say not even 30 days after completing service. You do earn something called NCE, which is non-competitive eligibility. If any of you have aspirations of working for any federal agency, you can leverage that NCE status to make you more competitive in the employment process for federal employment. You literally have a preference that's just below a veteran with NCE, and you have that for 12 months after you complete your service. For those of you who are thinking about graduate school, the Peace Corps will cover a master's, a JD, a PhD. Will pay for all three under the Coverdale Fellowship. We have partnerships with over 100 different colleges and universities across the country. And so depending on our agreement with the school, we provide tuition assistance. Some schools offer room and board and a living stipend. All that Peace Corps asks is that after you serve your 27 months, you apply to one of our fellows programs and you help recruit on that campus while you earn your advanced degree. And this is the benefit that you have access to for the rest of your life. And you can earn multiple degrees. So if you're interested in doing the Peace Corps, it is so, so important that you do your research. You've kind of already taken that step today by being here. At any point during my 3 years of service, I could have called my program managers or my country director and said, hey, I want to go back to Alabama. And the Peace Corps would have facilitated me getting back to the US in less than 72 hours. I say that to say a lot of people think that the Peace Corps is like the military, and we are nothing like that. That's why it's so important that you do your research. Before I left for the Peace Corps, I watched a lot of vlogs and read a lot of blogs about Peace Corps and what it means to be a volunteer. And I found that really helped me get into the mindset of what it means to be a Peace Corps volunteer. And again, as the senior recruiter for the state, it's my responsibility to not only make sure you have access to those kind of resources, but to connect you with other return Peace Corps volunteers and to help you with your application. The application, you can apply to the Peace Corps in less than an hour. I can help you workshop your resume, your personal statement. This is not like applying to a regular job. You get up to 3 pages in your resume where you can talk about your service with AmeriCorps, any other organizations that you've served with, your personal statement in 500 words or less. You're telling us why you want to be a Peace Corps volunteer, what sector that you're interested in, what region of the world, and what you feel like you can contribute as a volunteer. You do have to submit 3 references. They do not have to write a letter for you. You'll just put their most up-to-date contact information in the application, and we will reach out to them and send them a form that they'll complete on your behalf. Once you finish the application, you do have to submit a health history form. It is very, very important that you disclose any past or chronic medical conditions, just so that we can make sure, should you have any kind of medical crisis while you're in country, that we have access to whatever you may need. I say this all the time jokingly, if you have a peanut allergy, we don't want to send you to a peanut farm in West Africa. So it's really important that you disclose. And nobody will see that form except our medical team at HQ in DC, a recruiter, a placement officer. No one can say that you cannot serve due to a medical condition except that medical office. So it is very important that you disclose, and that way we can make sure that we place you in the most appropriate countries possible. After that, you'll do your interview. It's about 60 to 90 minutes. And that interview is a series of scenarios that Peace Corps volunteers face on the ground and how you would respond in those situations. And so again, as your recruiter, it's my responsibility to prepare you for that interview, and we can schedule a time to, sit down and kind of talk through everything. After you ace your interview, you do get your invitation. Your invitation has your country of service, your official title, and your official departure date. Once you accept that invitation, you do have to be medically and legally cleared. So a lot of blood work, vaccinations, going to the eye doctor, the dentist. When I was going through that process, I used my AmeriCorps insurance and got through everything. I held on to all of my receipts, and the Peace Corps reimbursed me for everything. After you get cleared, you do your onboarding process. It's literally like some online modules where you'll be exposed to some of the core expectations of volunteers, and you carry those expectations with you throughout service. And then the final step is departure. The Peace Corps flew me from my home of record in Montgomery, Alabama to Newark, New Jersey, where I met up with the 85 other Americans who were going to Botswana. And then we were flown out of JFK in New York City, and then we landed in Botswana to start the PST process. So it is a fairly long process. I usually tell candidates you should start the application no later than a year before you would like to depart, because getting cleared and doing the interviews and all that stuff, it can take some time, and it kind of takes the pressure off if you start a little bit early. So again, I'm still Kenyatta Spiller. These are all my contact details on the screen. If you scan that QR code, it's going to pull up a form that's going to ask for your name and your email, and it will send all of your information directly to me. I was looking at the chat as we were moving through everything. I didn't see anything pop up, but you all can feel free to ask any questions that you may have about my AmeriCorps service or about Peace Corps, whatever you like. Please don't be shy.
Again, this is a opportunity of a lifetime to talk to somebody who's done both AmeriCorps and Peace Corps and how it can relate to your service and things that you want to do in your future. So please, 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 if you feel free to ask questions in the chat, or there we go, or ask them out loud. In the chat, we have a question for you, Kiana. Are there any trainings to teach you the local language where you are placed?
Thank you so much, Kayla. And actually, yes. So before I left for the Peace Corps, I did not have a foreign language. And in Botswana and in Zambia, there are regional dialects that are very specific to that region of the world. So the only place I would have ever learned it was in Botswana or Zambia. And your first 3 months in country during PST, I was taking up to 20 hours of language per week. And before I could leave my training site, I had to reach a certain proficiency before I could, go to my community and do my 2 years. So you learn a lot of local language. The Peace Corps is very adamant that you can communicate in local language, both in professional and personal settings. So thank you so much, Kayla. Brave soul, first question. Thank you, Kayla. Anyone else?
We have a question from Jessica saying, how was your housing?
My housing was amazing. So in Botswana, Peace Corps volunteers are considered government employees. So I actually lived in government housing like a regular host country national who worked for the government. My housing had electricity and running water when we weren't in a drought. So I had running water, I had indoor plumbing. It was fine. It was fine. Now that won't be the case for every Peace Corps volunteer in every Peace Corps community, but in both of my communities in Botswana and Zambia, my houses were fairly the same.
I know that, oh, there you go. How did you adjust to your new environment?
So I think, again, coming from a military family and moving around a lot, that kind of adaptability was just kind of already there. But with the Peace Corps, what I really appreciated was I got to live with a host family my first 3 months in Botswana. And I had the Beyonce of host mamas. My host mom was actually related to the Kosi of my village. A Kosi is a chief. So whenever somebody got married, whenever somebody had a baby, whenever somebody transitioned on and passed away, my host mother had to be with the family and she would drag along her Peace Corps daughter. So I got to meet a lot of people in the community that I would eventually be doing projects with during my 2 years of service. So in addition to being a Peace Corps volunteer, I'm a professional Botswanan wedding crasher. I have been to more Botswanan weddings than I can count on both hands, and it was an amazing experience and really laid a foundation for me to serve the 3 years. And thank you so much. I don't know who asked that. Oh, it was iPhone. Thank you so much, iPhone.
Kenyatta, can you talk a little bit about how set up you are during your service with Peace Corps? Because I know people are like, well, what if I don't have like necessities like bug spray and things of that nature? Like how set up are you for those things for day-to-day life in your service country?
Well, the Peace Corps will definitely make sure that you have ample amount of bug spray, in addition to any other meds that you need for whatever region of the world that you live in. In Botswana and Zambia, I actually lived in a malaria zone, so I had to take prophylaxis for that. The Peace Corps gave me all of that free of charge. You actually get a Peace Corps med kit that comes with a bunch of different things. Whatever you can think of to be in a first aid kit is in there, plus some other stuff. Everything from vitamins to what is that called for your gut health? Probiotics, Benadryl, everything you could possibly think of. Everything I thought to bring, it was already in the Peace Corps medical kit. So I could have saved that space in my luggage, to be honest. But they really try to make sure that you have access to everything that you need. In terms of water, I knew that in Botswana and in Zambia, we couldn't drink water directly out of the tap. We had to filter it. The Peace Corps not only provided the filter, but also provided us with training in how to use it, how to take care of it throughout your months of service. If something happens to it, what you need to do to make sure that you have, your water is clean. Literally in that first 3 months, it's laid out in a way to where everything you could possibly think of, there is a session or a class or a course to address your concerns as a new trainee. So you're not just thrown out there and they're like, here's your bug spray and go figure it out. Like literally you're given a groundwork of what to expect, what service will look like in your particular sector. And then you're given, of course, the language training on top of the medical and safety and security courses as well.
Thank you.
I was just about to ask that. Did you feel safe?
I felt very safe. And what's so crazy, so as a Black woman serving on the continent of Africa, a lot of times people would just assume they would just assume I was Botswanan or Zambian or South African or wherever I was. As long as I did not speak, people would just assume. So I definitely leveraged that to my benefit. I think the downside of that is when it came to workspaces, in Botswana and in Zambia too, to be honest, a woman of status is a married woman. So you got a husband and kids, you are like a boss. And I showed up with no husband, no kids, I'm just kind of just here. And people are like, well, your husband let you come here? Where are your kids? And I have to kind of like explain, like, no, where I'm from, things go a little bit differently, and kind of having that conversation and using it as a teachable moment. A lot of times other women were like, okay, well, older women were kind of resistant to that. Like, no, you should be married, you should be having kids. So I'm like, but look, I'm going to do it, but later on. I kind of using those moments to kind of talk through things and explain how things are in American culture. But as a Peace Corps volunteer, always being respectful of the culture in my host communities. So yeah, you'll definitely have a lot of teachable moments as a Peace Corps volunteer.
All right, we have another question in the chat. Can couples do Peace Corps together with a preference for the same site or project?
Thank you so much. I hope I'm saying it right, Taryn. You hit on a really great point. Yes, the Peace Corps accepts married couples, same-sex couples, and domestic partnerships, with a small caveat. So you can serve in the same host country, in the same host community, but you cannot serve in the same sector. So if you are passionate and adamant about education, we would hope that Bay has a passion for, the environment or one of the other sectors, because you all cannot serve in the same sector. As you go through the application process, you'll complete separate applications. As you go through the process, your applications will be linked. So you'll do an individual interview, and then you will do an interview together. So it is very, very important. If you want to do this as a couple, we do accept couples, but what I have noticed, being a recruiter, there's always one person who wants it more than the other one. So it's really, really important that y'all are on the same page and both passionate about becoming Peace Corps volunteers. Because once your applications are linked, if the other person gets dropped, you get dropped too. So just putting that out there. But yes, you can serve as a couple.
Speaking of couples, what do people with children have to do if they want to serve with Peace Corps?
Very, very good. So as a Peace Corps volunteer, you are very welcome. You cannot have any domestic dependents. And if you do, you have to be able to submit documentation that those dependents will be taken care of during your 27-month commitment, if they are younger than the age of 18. Did y'all hear me? Okay, I had like something flash on my screen. I was like, no, wait. Okay, yeah. So as long as they are over the age of 18, your dependents, you're perfectly fine. If they're under the age of 18, you do have to submit documentation that they'll be taken care of during your 27-month commitment.
Great, thank you.
You are very welcome.
Any other questions?
Y'all don't be shy.
Hi.
Hello.
I don't really have a question, but I do want to say you've kind of reignited my interest in Peace Corps, because I originally was looking at Peace Corps after talking with one of my professors in undergrad.
Mm-hmm.
And he was suggesting that I teach English as a second language in another country. And I'm like, well, that's a big step.
Mm-hmm.
And I did want to start kind of smaller. And that's how I ended up doing my first service year with AmeriCorps. But I definitely am seeing that more as a pathway for me now.
I'm so glad to hear that. And I just wanted to say, because we pulled out all of those volunteers due to COVID in 2020, we have a need for volunteers in every sector, in every region of the world. So I would strongly encourage you, once you fulfill your commitment with AmeriCorps, please, please, please reach out. because we need people. And I cannot tell you how many times a placement officer sees AmeriCorps on a resume and they're like, absolutely yes, because they know that we are committed to serve. They know that we're not in this for the money. They know that when an AmeriCorps member makes a commitment, they are going to get things done by any means necessary. So I definitely feel like that, in addition to, you know, already having my bachelor's, definitely helped me get my foot in the door in terms of AmeriCorps. There is no cookie cut volunteer or candidate that we're looking for. It's okay if you've never studied abroad before. It's okay if you've never left the country before. As long as you can commit to the 27 months and you are passionate about service and learning about another culture and community, there is a place for you here with AmeriCorps. And I did see another question. Oh, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Sorry, I was going to say I'm working with an LGBTQ outreach in Mobile, and I want to go to grad school eventually. And my interest is gender studies, but I wanted to know, you said that you did grad school. Was it in between your service for AmeriCorps and Peace Corps? And did you still accumulate debt, or was it pretty much paid for once you did your service? If that's too personal.
No, great question. I actually did AmeriCorps. I did a term before graduate school and I did a term after graduate school. With the Peace Corps, of course, I joined after graduate school, so I did have some debt. In hindsight, I would have joined the Peace Corps first and then let them pay for my master's, because again, under the Coverdale Fellowship, we'll pay for a master's, we'll pay for a JD, we'll pay for a PhD, we'll pay for all three, because you have access to that benefit for the rest of your life as a returned Peace Corps volunteer. So you don't have to take out the extra debt. In addition to the, you know, not having to take out the extra money, you have a lived experience that you bring into the classroom that other students won't necessarily have. For me, I know I had mastered the theory in the classroom, but I was literally doing what I had learned in the classroom within 30 days of becoming a volunteer. So it will give you that edge when it comes to applying to graduate schools when they see Peace Corps and AmeriCorps on your application.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And I think there was one more question in the chat that I caught. It said, can Peace Corps help pause payments on private student loans while serving? That's a very good question. So we actually have a policy where you can use up to, I want to say 1/3 of that $10,000 that we give you after you finish serving. You can actually do something that's called a monthly allotment, where you can pay on your private student loans. But again, I would encourage you to reach out to your private student loan provider to get the parameters around that. I know with federal student loans, you can do an income-based repayment plan. And for what you earn in the Peace Corps, your monthly payment would be $0. So you wouldn't have to worry about making a payment. But I would strongly encourage you to reach out to your private student loan provider and kind of get more information about that. You are very welcome. Also, your time in the Peace Corps, that 27 months, counts toward public service loan forgiveness. I don't know if you all are familiar with that program, but you serve 10 years in public service. During that 10 years, you are making 120 payments on your student loans. After you have made 120 qualifying payments, the rest of your balance of your student loans is forgiven. And so you can use the 27 months towards your Peace Corps service. Your public service loan forgiveness, forgive me. Anybody else? Don't be shy. Y'all have really great questions. Okay. Well, again, the QR code is there on the screen. If you don't want to come off of mute or you don't want to put it in the chat, you can feel free to email me directly any questions that you have, and we can kind of go from there.
Aw, you're getting kudos in the chats, but thank you so much, Kenyatta. It is always a pleasure speaking with you, and I really appreciate you taking the time out to talk to our group today and tell us a little bit more about Peace Corps and how it could benefit them after their service year. But as always, thank you. Program staff will stay on the call until 12 o'clock, until if you guys have any questions that weren't related to Peace Corps. But as always, as I said, ask me questions if you need them. Kenyatta's information is on the screen. But thank you so much for taking your time to be with us today, guys.